Hi there, and welcome to the Chaotic Classroom. In today's video, we are going to look at the parts of the flower. This video is aimed at grade 11 learners studying the CAPS syllabus. So first, let's have a look at the type of picture that you're going to get in the exam. So this is a generic picture of a flower. Most flowers have got these parts, but some of them might have them smaller or larger or in different ratios, but this is the generic version that you might get in the exam. Let's start off with the parts here at the bottom. So we've got the stem, we've got the receptacle, and then we've got the sepals. Now our example flower for today is a lily, and it doesn't really have sepals here at the bottom. Not as clearly as this flower has, for example. Here you can very clearly see the sepals there at the bottom, and remember they're going to keep the flower protected while it's still closed. Here you can see the sepals at the bottom of these tiny little flowers, and then here towards the top you can see these flowers are not yet ready to be pollinated. That's why they are still closed. Our lily looks like this when it's still closed. It does not have any of the reproductive structures peeking out because they are not yet ready to be used. Next up, we've got the petals, and the petals are usually the parts that smell nice and that are brightly colored because they need to help attract pollinators. Once the flower is ready to be fertilized, or once it's ready for reproduction, it's going to open up. So let's have a look at what this flower looks like when we take it apart. So first we're going to take off the petals, and as you can see the petals are nice and big. Sometimes they're very strong because they need to form a landing platform for insects. And then what we're left with here is the male and female reproductive parts. Then we're going to have a look at the male parts. Now the male parts are the filaments, which you can see there in blue. And then you've got the anthers. The anthers are the parts that you see there in orange, and the anthers are the parts that will contain the pollen. As you can see, the male parts have the filament, which holds the anther upright. So the anther is this part here at the top, which contains all of the pollen. And if you touch it, you'll see that the pollen comes off quite easily. Look there on the paper, just a little bit of shaking and we've got pollen all over the paper. And there's usually a lot more of the filaments with the anthers than there are of the female reproductive parts. Then if we have a look at the female parts, we've got the stigma and the style and the ovary. So the stigma is that yellow part there at the top. I usually remember it as the sticky part because that's going to collect all of the pollen, so the sticky stigma. And then we've got the style, which keeps it upright and away from the ovary, because remember we want to catch as much pollen as possible. And then we've got the ovary at the bottom, and the ovary will contain the ovule. The ovule is going to be the part where the egg cells from the female parts and the sperm cells from the male part, which is contained in the pollen, will be fusing to form an embryo. The stigma, now when you touch the stigma at the top, it will feel slightly sticky because we want the pollen to actually sit on there. I'm going to just dab a little bit of the pollen there. You can see how the pollen actually just easily sits on there. And then we've got the style. And remember, once the pollen has matched up with the correct plant, they're the same species and everything, a pollen tube will then grow down the style to this thickening here at the bottom. That is called the ovary. And once you cut the ovary open, you should be able to see the ovule on the inside. So when you look over there, those structures over there, that's the ovule. So to recap, we've got the petals, then we've got the male reproductive structures, which is the filaments with the anthers, and then for the female we've got the stigma, the style, and the ovary. I hope this helps. Thank you for visiting the Chaotic Classroom. This video was made possible with the help of my deputy principal, who gave me some flowers and allowed me to cut them up and basically sacrifice them for your education. See you next time.